بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in where we left off from our last session, He talks about a nation that were destroyed. وَتِلْكَ الْقُرَىٰ, i.e. there were nations that were destroyed. أَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ, we destroyed them. When? لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا, when they transgressed, when they recognized what is wrong, and they said, it's okay, we're still going to do it. And that is a principle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a nation, irrespective of who they are, they know what is right, they know what's wrong, and they choose to transgress that, then destruction comes to them inevitably, right? It could be financial destruction, it could be moral destruction, it could be destructions of all types. وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا. And Allah is like, someone's like, oh, how come that nation is not destroyed? They have crossed a lot of boundaries. Allah is like, every nation has a maw'id, has a time. Not now, not tomorrow. We are not the ones who decide when which nation is going to be destroyed. Maybe in our eyes, they must have qualified. In our eyes, with all the transgression that has happened in the countries, by certain countries to our Muslims brothers and sisters, we're like, oh, this nation should be destroyed. But I was like, وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا. Every nation, their destruction has a set appointed time. وَإِذْ قَالَ وَتِلْكَ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off, He says, and this is where the story of Musa alayhi salam begins. So a preamble to what the discussion has been before, which is that there were how many questions asked to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? 3. What were the 3 questions? Ashabul Kahf, Ruh, Dhul Qarnayn. Was Musa alayhi salam asked? No. Then why tell the story of Musa alayhi salam? That was not one of the questions. You know?
Yeah. It's like they are checking whether Prophet knows this or not, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
For sure. But why Musa alayhi salam story?
Musa alayhi salam did not know some of the information.
Beautiful. So since they were testing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought a story of their own prophet, Musa alayhi salam, who did not know. So you come and test my Nabi. Let me tell you about a story of your Nabi when he didn't know something. But don't test Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? This story was not with them. They don't have the recollection of the story in their books. So this is like, hey, you know, this when this happened with Musa alayhi salam. Now, the story, as it is mentioned in hadith books, Bukhari, Muslim, and various other hadith books, the collection of all of that we find in the hadith books, Abu Ubaidah is the one who narrates most of that, is that Musa alayhi salam was giving a khutbah once. After the khutbah ended, a person came to Musa alayhi salam. And the person said, Ya Nabi Allah, Ya Kalim Allah, Ya Rasul Allah. O the one who has spoken with Allah, O Rasul of Allah, O Prophet of Allah, who is the most knowledgeable person on this earth? So what did Musa alayhi salam say? Qala ana. I am the most knowledgeable person. I am Musa ibn Imran, the prophet of Bani Israel. I am the most knowledgeable. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent an angel to tell Musa alayhi salam, why did you not return the affair to me? Why didn't you say Allah is the most knowledgeable? And then He sent Musa alayhi salam and He said, Inna li abdan, I have a servant that has more knowledge than you. Go to him and seek knowledge. So Musa alayhi salam, as soon as Allah tells him, Allah did not tell him to go and seek knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him that I have a servant who has more knowledge than you. So Musa alayhi salam, he gets up, packs up everything, and he says, we're going to go find this person. Oh Allah, where can I find him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you will find him at Majma' al-Bahrain. You will find him in the junction of the two seas. So you find that Musa alayhi salam, despite being a prophet, despite being every question that he could ever think of can be answered through wahi, he picks up himself and says, seeking knowledge is an essential part of even a Nabi. So he displayed the humility of and humbleness of a student of knowledge. I mean, if any one of us was in that shoes, we're like, man, I'm set. Okay, I have wahi, Jibreel alayhi salam is coming to me, like, I don't need to seek any knowledge, like, alhamdulillah. And it's like, hey, can you find out what's the opinion on this thing? You have direct access to the divine realm. And you're not just any Nabi, you're Kalimullah. Allah talks to you. You're one of the only human beings that Allah has had kalam with. And he says, oh, if there is somebody more knowledgeable, I'll go and seek. I'll go and seek knowledge. Ajib. But this is something so strange if you think about it. What happens to many of us if we know a little bit this, little bit that, thoda sa ye kar liya, I studied here, did this, khalas. Alhamdulillah, we know. And then we become passive about ilm. We become passive about ilm. Just, a couple hours before coming here, a very good brother, friend of mine, 47 years old, he passed away. They gave him 2 days. 2 days before he went to the hospital, and he said, I can't breathe, something's up. They're like, oh, let's do a test. Oh my God, you've got cancer all over your body. Your lungs are filling up with water. We'll drain some of the lungs. Doctor does the whole diagnosis. You got 2 days to live. Perfectly healthy person before that. I was on chat with him literally, I think 20, 25 days ago. I messaged him. I said, Umar, you need to come down to Atlanta. And because he was one of the pioneers who established Jummas in high schools back in the day. He decided to go into public school system as a teacher. And I still remember John Fraser Secondary School. All other Jummas we were struggling because there was this massive, we don't want this, we want these people to assimilate, but people wanted Jummas. And there was a lot of pushback. We could hardly get room. We could hardly get people to sponsor us because if you're a student, high school, you need a sponsor teacher who is going to be there for the entire time while you're doing that activity. And it's very difficult. Many teachers don't want to sit. They're like, I need to go home. I don't want to do this. And they're not being paid for that. So Umar, I remember in those days, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, he became the pioneer in establishing Jummah in John Fraser School, to the level that the entire gym used to be filled with Jummah kids. Then when I came back after my studies, he was the first person to meet me. Total random. We were not intending to meet. We prayed Asr at a masjid, at Rahman Center. He met me and he sat me down and he said, look, people are losing their faith. Whatever you do, you're going to be up against so many challenges. Many of the masjids, many of the institutions don't want people that can do good work. And I've been burnt so many times. But no matter how many times I get burnt, I don't leave the community. I give every time that I can. He used to run classes. He wouldn't take a single dime. He would run classes on Fridays and Saturdays in masjid. Same masjid that would kick him off the mimbar because he said something that they did not want to hear. And then 6 months later, they will come back and say, oh, pressure has mounted. We have nobody who can help our youth. And then he would be back. So he told me, whatever happens, don't back down. And I was just like coming back. I'm like, no, they're not going to do that to me. And then every single word of his was true. Because if you're beneficial to the community, the people who are guarding and safeguarding those centers, they don't want that. Because education leads to questioning, and they don't want a community that questions. Subhanallah. Anyhow, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have maghfirah for him. And in hindsight, his pain was only a couple of days of extreme pain, and Allah gave him an opportunity to repent. And he never told any one of us until like today at, I think I got to know about it at 11 o'clock that he's super sick. And then like I was trying to take a nap and my mom called me and he said he passed away. I'm like, what? I just heard the news that he's sick. At 11 o'clock, he's like, yeah, he passed away. But that is the reality of my life and your life. As I was talking to Brother Asad, I was talking to at the back and the few, like we all have a deadline. That deadline is coming. In his case, he got to know about the deadline early. In many cases, you will not know about your deadline. He never thought, he had plans. He was going to go for Umrah in December. Tickets booked. He's ready. Allah has different plans. But the reality is that that deadline of ours can come any minute. And the thing that really matters is in the last 2 days, what did he occupy his time with? Right? Was he busy with things that we are busy with? Or because the visceral nature of his deadline, that it's just a couple of days, made him drop everything that was not necessary. And it's like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it because it's not going to go with me to the grave. Right? Many of the mashayikh, they used to say that take an account of what in your day that you did that will go with you to the grave. What is it that you did? And if we honestly take an account, all of us included, maybe an hour a day, if you add all the salawat and the quick sunnahs that we might do, if we do, and on top of that, maybe 1 or 2 du'as here and there, maybe some lecture here and there, like maybe max 2 hours of our days is dedicated towards this. The rest of the 22 hours is of no use. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him maghfirah and highest status, inshaAllah. And seeking knowledge is the most important, highest, loftiest action the person can get involved in. That is why if you look at any of the tazkiyah books, you look at Imam Ghazali's Arba'in, the 40 principles of life, you look at Minhaj al-Abidin, you look at Minhaj al-Qasidin, you look at An-Nurayn fi ad-Darain, all of these books that relate to my tazkiyah of a nafs, they all begin with, if you look at hadith books, Babul Ilm, the chapter of knowledge. Because without ilm, without knowledge, my ibadah, your ibadah, and a person who has no knowledge and a person who has knowledge, the ibadah can't be the same. It cannot. Ilm is what differentiates an abid. And that's why the ulama, they used to say that ilm is over ibadah. You have to do your obligatory. But if a person has an opportunity to pray 2 rak'ahs of nafil or to seek knowledge that is obligatory on him, then seeking that knowledge matters. Seeking that knowledge matters. And sad reality is that obligatory knowledge is not being offered anywhere. It's not being offered. As a matter of fact, like, another, friend of mine who's a sheikh, Shaykh Samir, he wrote a poem. I mean, you can look it up on Instagram. His name is the Usuli. The Usuli, that's his channel. And he wrote something beautiful. He said, look at all of our masjids, look at all of our centers. Everything that is being offered in North America, Sunday schools. We don't have a concept of Sunday school. Sunday school was a Christian thing. We just took that concept at wholesale, and every masjid says, oh, every center is like, we're going to create a Sunday school. Then what's after that? Hifz. Hifz is fard kifaya. As a matter of fact, Hifz was not recommended for awam, ever. A layman was not told you should go and memorize, because he doesn't live like a scholar. He has not gone through the training of being a scholar. So he would desecrate the maqam of the Quran. He would not know how to behave having Quran in his heart. But today everyone is like in this business of pumping hufaz. We're just gonna pump. Fard kifaya. What's fard ain? Those hufaz don't know how to make wudu. And this is the situation we had. Like those kids going, like kids lining up to lead Taraweeh, going to the bathroom in socks and coming back in the musalla standing right next. And I'm like, I just saw you with these socks in the bathroom. You can't be here. It's like, nobody told us. Ajib. So proper ilm, obligatory ilm is what matters. And that is of three types. Number one is your basic fiqh, your basic aqidah, basic tazkiyah, and add on to that is Quran classes of this nature or seerah. That's it. Everything else that is being offered through the centers, other places, fluff. It's basically, I mean, and he posted, he said, we send a message to survey to the community. What would you like to have in the program? Community doesn't know. It's a scholar's job to teach what needs to be taught, not what they want. Okay? So ilm is something so important, and the more you spend time in ilm, the more barakah your life is going to have, inshallah. So Musa alayhi salam, he establishes that. He says, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ. So this story is happening when Musa alayhi salam has already embarked. He's already embarked on the journey. And he turns to his fatah. Who is this fatah? Who knows the name of this person, the young assistant? What was his lineage? Yusha ibn Nun, yes. He's what? Lineage, I don't know. Lineage is... No. Yusuf alayhi salam. He is from the lineage of Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay? His great-great-grandfather was Yusuf alayhi salam. But again, they're connected. But his immediate grandfather, his great-great-grandfather was Yusuf alayhi salam. And he took on the job of Musa alayhi salam after the death of Musa alayhi salam in the desert of Tih for 40 years. He became that Nabi. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ. When Musa alayhi salam turned to Yusha ibn Nun. Just one point. Generally, when the word fatah is used in the Quran, it refers to a slave. But in this particular case, fatah is that he was in servitude to Musa alayhi salam in such a level that he was literally like a slave. So that's the denotion. He was although a free person. La abrahu. I will never stop. La abraha basically means that whatever state you find me in, I will not change the state of mind. So if we are traveling for this knowledge and this person, then I will stay in this state of travel. Okay? أو أمضي لا أبرح حتى until أبلغ, I reach مجمع, the junction of Bahrain, the two seas. Let me show you. So the junction of two seas, where do you think this is? Where do you think the two seas meet? Cast. Palestine. I think the TV is shut down. Do we need to just press the buttons? Yeah, I am casting. Okay, awesome. That's fine. You guys can see that, right? Okay, awesome. So most of the scholars of Tafseer, they say Majma al-Bahrain is either the Mediterranean. So they refer to the two Bahars here. This. So this is one Bahar and this is the second Bahar. And there are two seas that are connecting. This is one. The others, they say this junction, like so over here, this portion of the sea meeting that bigger sea, that's what they refer to. But the most plausible, So Bahr in Arabic language is something that is surrounded by three places, and it could be open from one. It could be completely open, but if it's surrounded by completely, or if even one side is open, it'd still be considered Bahr. So if you see the Red Sea, this is still the sea. The actual Bahr that we're talking about is over here. These two, Bahrain. Okay? And if you actually have been here, this area, Taib al-Ism, this is where there's a lot of remains of Musa alayhi salam over there. You find the valley, a lot of reminiscences you'll find about Musa alayhi salam's traditions, and a lot of the biblical references also allude to this place, Taib al-Ism. The valley of Taib al-Ism. It has a different name. I forgot the name that it has in biblical references. But all of this. Now, interestingly, this is something very interesting for a lot of people. So when Musa alayhi salam, he crossed from Egypt, he would cross over where? So when we say that Prophet Musa alayhi salam during the time of Fir'aun, he crossed, right, with, Ya Allah, Saint Catherine in Egypt. Ajib. You learn weird, interesting things. So when Musa alayhi salam, he was here. Now he's here with what's his name? Fir'aun. Yeah. So he escapes from Fir'aun and he crosses over the desert, Sinai. He crosses over the desert. Obviously, he's not going to go back into the land of Fir'aun. He's going to go somewhere else. Now, if you come and actually go to these areas, you're actually going to find something really interesting. That the Arabs, this mountain, Jabal Lawz, we've been there with our family and stuff. Jabal Lawz is well documented within the Arab traditions. People in Arabia, they call Jabal Lawz Jabal Musa. If you ask anybody in the desert, they don't call it Jabal Lawz, they call it Jabal Musa. And actually, next to this Jabal Musa, there's actually an entire documentary where they found the stone that split into the 12 Ithnata Ashara, Aina, the 12, all of that. You don't find anything in Mount Sinai, the current day Mount Sinai. You find everything in this area about that. So Musa alayhi salam, he is traveling with Yusha ibn Nun, and obviously he is around the coastal areas. Okay, so you have to remember this part while we go through this. Okay, and Majma' al-Bahrain is over here where the two seas are meeting. Okay, there is some research that there's a place called Ra'as Muhammad. Now, whenever the Arabs, they say Ra'as, they refer to these things. You see Ra'as Hamad, which means the head, which is basically a port, like a head popping out of the land. So there's a place called Ra'as Muhammad, which is well documented. That's where there's right here, Ra'as Muhammad. Okay, this is where they believe that this actually took place, the entire thing. Okay, let's go back to, how do I stop this? Stop. Okay. So, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ, when Musa alayhi salam, he said to his fatah, Yusha ibn Nun, لَا أَبْرَحُ, I will not change the state حتى until أبلغ, I reach مجمع البحرين, this junction of the two seas. What was going to happen? How would they know? Because they don't have like drones that they can fly and now see where the Majma' al-Bahrain is taking place. Obviously, when you don't have that, how are you going to know? Prophet Musa alayhi salam was told that take a fish with you. And what is going to happen to this fish is wherever the Majma' al-Bahrain is going to happen, this fish is going to become alive and it will go into the sea. That is Majma' al-Bahrain. That in itself, if somebody believes, and we do as Muslims, then if Dajjal comes and shows us some magic, we're not going to feel awkward. That's one of the reasons why this surah is so powerful. And then what happens with the fish? Read. مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقوبا, or I will carry on my travels for حقوبا, basically means حقوبا. Minimum that can come here is 3, right? For plural, minimum 3, which means one حقوب is 70 years, another حقوب is 70 years, another حقوب is 7 years. So he's like, I will carry on traveling for at least 210 years if I have to, until I get to this place. What happens? فلما بلغ مجمع بينهما. So he reaches the junction point that I told you about, Ras Muhammad. What happened? نسيا حوتهما. They forgot about the fish. Yusha ibn Nun's only task was that you're going to keep an eye on the fish. That's the only task that he had. And he forgot. The only task. Over here, a lot of benefits. First benefit that the ulama, they say, the first benefit that we get over here is that teenagers forget. It's actually written that when you're young, you're distracted with, oh my God, look at the like when we travel, oh wow, look at that. So he got so distracted that his main task that he was on with, saying, keep an eye on the fish because this fish is gonna jump out. So he forgot. He saw the event, but he forgot to even tell. I'm like, you just think for a second with me. This fish is dead, and this thing is called hoot. So either it's an actual piece of whale, a small piece of whale, or as our brothers and sisters in Tanzania and our brothers and sisters in, why am I saying that? North African countries, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, these countries, Libya, they call fish hoot. Every fish is hoot. Okay. What is in the tafsir books is this was hoot mumallah. It was salted fish, which is the tradition of Egyptians till today. So this salted fish that they were eating somehow jumps out of the basket, goes into the sea, and he forgets it completely. Like, you really think about it. Like, how distracted was he that a miracle happened in front of him? He forgot to tell Musa alayhi salam about it. Question for all of you: if Musa alayhi salam if Yusha ibn Nun, if he forgot it, why use nasiya? Why use both of them forgot? Why add Musa alayhi salam in the problem? It was not Musa alayhi salam's problem. He didn't forget it. Yusha ibn Nun forgot it. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, nasiya, they both forgot. I can't give you all answers. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Shaitan made them forget. But why is Allah adding Musa alayhi salam to this mix? It was his responsibility. So if you are held, if you have been given a responsibility, anybody who is subordinate to you, their mistake is your mistake. You will be held liable for that. Yes. Somebody got it here? Okay, alhamdulillah. Whoever got it there, good for you. Okay, so it was the responsibility of Musa alayhi salam because he was the leader. So if the mistake happened, it's also his problem. نَسِيَ حُوتَهُمَا فَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ سَرَبًا. This hoot, this fish, it took a path in the sea in a wondrous way, i.e. it was not a normal path. Number two, it was sabil, so it was a clear path. It was not like a fish jumps in and goes, disappears. As the fish was traveling, the path was absolutely clear in the sea. It was parting its way into the sea. فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَ, when they crossed that moment of the junction, قَالَ لِفَتَاهُ, he turns to Yusha ibn Nun, آتِنَا غَدَاءَنَا, give us our food. لَقَدْ لَقِينَا مِنْ سَفَرِنَا هَذَا نَصَبًا. We have been really tired, and in this travel, we have been inflicted with an exhaustive journey. Or we've been exhausted. So this also has really beautiful point that some of the scholars have taken out. That when we cross, so see, up until where Allah wanted them to be, they were in a state of ibadah trying to seek this person. But when they crossed that junction, that's when they start becoming tired. Similarly, when we go beyond that which Allah has asked us to, then we ourselves inflict our bodies with pain and we get tired because Allah had never asked you for that. Like I met a brother, he had registered one of their kids in a program that I was running. And they I think they only showed up like 4 times, and then they didn't bring their kid. And I was like, I met him recently. I'm like, what happened? So I got so busy with this, and then this person, and then her education and his thing, and all this. I'm like, has Allah obligated us for all of that? And the answer is no. Allah has obligated the parents to teach the children their fara'id, fard ain, basic aqidah, basic tahara, basic tazkiyah. Beyond that, everything else is taklufa. It's additional headache that we have taken, which Allah has not asked us for. If somebody wants to do it, perfect. But if that comes in my way of my ibadah, then it is something blameworthy. So then Yusha ibn Nun turns back to him and he says, قَالَ أَرَأَيْتَ إِذْ أَوَيْنَا إِلَى الصَّخْرَةِ. Do you remember when we stopped at that big boulder and we were resting? So he's like, yeah. فَإِنِّي نَسِيتُ الْحُوتِ. At that moment we were resting and I forgot to tell you about the fish. He's like, oh, and then he gives him an excuse. وَمَا أَنْسَانِهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانِ. This is all shaitan's fault. Right? We well know every time something happens when we're young, मैंने नहीं किया था, शैतान ने मुझे करवाया था. It was not my fault. Shaitan made me do it. Okay? And again, that's human nature. You think about it, like thousands of years ago, a young boy is saying the same language. It's not my fault. It's Shaitan who made me do it. It's a funny story. A boy tells his father, he's like, honestly, I did not want to take the car. Wallahi, Baba, Shaitan made me, told me to take the keys and I took the car. So the dad took off his belt and, took care of the king. And he's like, Wallahi, I did not want it to hit you today. But the Shaitan convinced me that I have to beat you today. Right? So we can't blame Shaitan. We also have some nafs. But over here is giving an excuse. And azkurahu, I wanted to tell you, but Shaitan made me forget this. وَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ عَجَبًا. The only thing I remember is it took a very, like when it jumped in the water, it took a path. وَاتَّخَذَ, the fish took سَبِيلَهُ, its path, فِي الْبَحْرِ, in the sea, عَجَبًا, in a very strange manner. قَالَ ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِ. This is exactly what we were looking for. فَارْتَدَّ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمَا قَصَصًا. So they traveled back, following their footsteps. And where can you usually find your footsteps? What type of terrain? Sand. It's not really close. Somebody said sand? Huh? Oh.
As soon as you said it, you looked perfectly timed.
MashaAllah. See? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping us today. Even Chromecast wants to help us. So, on the sand, the footsteps were very visible. Yes. Snow. Yeah, that too, but they didn't have snow. Mud? No. Mud eventually comes back. Depends on how thick the mud is. فَارْتَدَّ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمَا قَصَصًا. So they followed their footsteps back all the way. What happens? فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِّنْ عِبَادِنَا. This is where we need to pause and I'll tell you the beautiful scene. So now they come back and they find that where the fish took its path, where the fish traveled, there is no water. And Musa alayhi salam, he finds that the fish has led to a boulder. That's one tafsir. And the other tafsir is it was no boulder, it was just right above the water. There was no rock there. It was just a path that was leading to where Khadir alayhi salam was there. Now, in the hadith, in various hadiths, there are numerous things that are mentioned. Number one, Khadir. We also say Khizr, Khidir, but Khidir is not correct in Arabic, it's Khadir. Number two, Khadir comes from Khudra, which means green. And the thing about him is whatever he touches, wherever he steps his foot, it is known about him that wherever he travels, that place turns green, as we find in tafsir books. Number three, he has a cloak that is green, because whatever he touches turns green. So he has a cloak, and that cloak is all green. So the hadith mentions that, yes. What happens if you shake his hand? Only a teenager can think of that. You don't turn into Groot. That's a good comeback, right? That's good, right? Did you guys get the reference? Who got the reference? No, some people got. You got it. You got it? No? You got it? Yes? This is Groot. He got it right away. So, فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا, he finds one of the abd, a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the hadith mentions that Musa alayhi salam comes. And then he sees him there. So he goes up to him and he says what? Assalamu alaikum. So Khadir alayhi salam is wearing a cloak, and he is literally, imagine me having this cloak on top, and then he's got his hands like this. And he's not even looking at Musa alayhi salam. And then he opens his hands and he says the first thing. وَفِي أَيِّ أَرْضِكُمُ السَّلَامُ. Which parts of your land has peace? You come and say Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to me. He said, I am Musa. He said, I know Musa ibn Imran, Rasul of Bani Israel. Musa alayhi salam is like, Ajib. And then he says to him, let's go. Musa alayhi salam, he says to him that I would like to seek knowledge from you. قال موسى هل أتبعك. Musa alayhi salam tells him, sorry, now let me finish this. فوجد عبدا. So this is how he finds this abd, Khadir alayhi salam, من عبادنا, from our servants. What was the specialty? آتيناه رحمة. We had given him rahmah. Okay. Now this word rahmah in the Quran is generally translated as mercy, and if it is attached to a human being, then nubuwah, prophethood. Okay. Most of the time in the Quran, if rahmah is attached to a human being, that Allah has given someone rahmah, then it is referring to nubuwah, prophethood. Okay. آتيناه رحمة. We had given him rahmah, which was the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the prophethood. Min indina, from our side, i.e. from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. And he had knowledge that was directly from me. Okay? Not through wahi. His knowledge is direct knowledge that was given to him. How do we know that? We know that because that was the same knowledge that was given to Musa, to Adam alayhi salam. Without any anbiya, without any messengers, without any malaika, because the malaika did not have that knowledge. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can provide that knowledge, and that is the same knowledge that the baby is born with. For example, who teaches the baby how to suckle? He didn't go and take a course. Like, he knows, she knows right away. Okay? And so that's knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in this particular case, this is not any knowledge. This is prophethood. Now, we have to understand this part because this is really confusing for people. So there is some knowledge that comes to a human being as a wahi through Prophet ﷺ or all the prophets that came before him through a messenger, and they come with sharia, they come with obvious rules of engagement that Allah has allowed and not allowed for our physical world. But Allah also has rules of how the metaphysical world operates. Sunnatullah, Allah has the sunnah, how He operates that. And in that realm, He has various messengers. Some are malaika, and He happened to be one of those from the realm that is not physical to us. So you're going to notice that He will do things that in our sharia or any sharia, it's not possible for someone to do it. Okay? But you'll understand where we're going. Now, what happens? قال له موسى, Musa alayhi salam meets him. هل أتبعك? Shall I follow you? على, on this condition, أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. All I want is you teach me from that guidance that you have been given. Okay? There's a difference between rushd and rashada. Rashada is a guidance of how to live as a human being, not necessarily sharia oriented. It's more about like how to drink, not to burn your mouth when you're drinking coffee. All of that knowledge is rushd. Rushd is the knowledge of values, morals, morality, and how how not to lie, and all of that is rushd. So he's asking spiritual knowledge, some element of spiritual knowledge from him. مما علمت رشدا. قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. You will not be capable of having patience with me. وكيف تصبر? And how are you going to have any patience? على, on ما لم تحط به خبرا. How are you going to have knowledge about that affair that your brain cannot even encompass? Tuhit over here is, and the word over here is beautiful. He's saying, listen, you will not be able to have patience. And the word tuhit actually means realm. That my knowledge is not from this realm. You cannot understand this knowledge. Because I operate in a different realm and you don't have ihata of this realm. You don't understand my realm. Okay? The imagery is that your knowledge, khabar, any knowledge that is coming to you, you are in one ihata, you're in one circle. Ma lam tuhit, you are not in the circle that I'm in. My knowledge and the realm through which, the circle through which I get my knowledge, you're not from there. You're not going to get it. Okay? So he says, قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا. You're going to find me very patient. Don't worry, inshallah sabira, I will be very patient. ولا أعصي لك أمرا. And I will not disobey you. Question? Yeah. He was either on the rock or he was above the sea, levitating. Okay. He's still stuck there. It's like levitating? Wasn't he levitating? How is he without a rock? قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا. Inshallah, you're going to find me patience. You will find me patient, and ولا أعصي لك أمرا. And I will not disobey you. Really interesting. We're getting all the interesting scenery. فانطلقا. قال فإن اتبعتني. So he says, fine. The only condition that we have, our rules of engagement is, if you were to follow me, فإن اتبعتني, if you follow me, فلا تسألني عن شيء. Don't ask me about anything that you see. حتى, until أحدث لك منه ذكرى, until I say something to you about that affair, or I clarify something for you. So I'm going to do things. You're going to see things. Don't ask. فَانْطَلَقَا. So they traveled. The word intalaqa basically means to traverse or to depart from that point where they were. Okay. So that's what I was going to come to. Fantalaqa means the two of them departed. Okay. So Yusha ibn Nun is still by the sakhra, by that boulder where the fish has taken a weird path. Okay. Now, where do you think they would go? Hatta rakiba fi safina, until they climbed on a ship. Rakiba fi safina. There was no safinas there. There was no harbor there. It was just him. Fantalaqa, they traveled. Where did they go? Okay, perfect. So they traversed the sea. That in itself, wherever the path was with the fish, wherever the fish traveled, that led them to a path until they got to a ship. Right? Because we know that swim. I mean, it didn't happen that the fish went and then it stopped right at. Right, it kept swimming. So wherever that path was, they followed that. Fantalaqa, i.e., wherever Musa alayhi salam came to meet him on that path, the dry land that the fish had left. Fantalaqa, from that point they carried on so i.e., from the junction they carried on the path. It's understood here. Okay, until they got to a ship. Rakiba hatta idha rakiba fi safina, until they got onto the ship. Was the ship empty or with people? There were people. Remember this point when we read the next part. حتى ركب في السفينة خرقها. What did he do? He got on and he made a hole onto the ship. Okay? Or onto that ship. قال Musa alayhi salam says, أخرقتها. You have placed a hole. لتغرق أهلها. You want people to drown? People of the ship to drown? لقد جئت شيئا إمرا. You've done a terrible thing. Question for you all. Why did only Musa alayhi salam complain? I mean, imagine, think about it. I just want you to imagine this. So the woods are generally, kharq is generally to poke a hole in a wood. Okay? Generally, the Arabic language, kharq basically means to poke a hole in a piece of wood. Generally, so it's a ship that's made out of wood. Okay? Now, obviously, it doesn't happen that you just automatically make a hole. He didn't have like a super, blaster gun. He was like, done in 1 second, right? Like none of that. So to poke a hole on a piece of wood, if you've ever traveled in those ships that are made of wood, those woods are pretty dry, clean, dried wood. Like it requires a lot of effort. Nobody around noticed it except Musa alayhi salam. Everybody's like, oh, look at this guy, mashallah. He's, poking a hole in the ship, mashallah. Very good guy, mashallah. Everybody's okay with it except Musa alayhi salam. How come? Huh? Yeah, why? How come? And Musa is saying, لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا. You want the poor. And imagine, these are poor people we know. Huh? And how does that help? Somebody that you're like, yeah, mashallah, we know he's going to put a hole in there. You have less affinity to it. You're like, how dare you? They could not see them. They could not see them. They could not hear them. Right? They could not see them. They could not hear them. Okay? And that's what, if you read some of not the classic tafseers, but if you read the modern day tafseers that have been written, that and we all believe in these things, by the way. We all believe in these things. Okay? Where you are hidden. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with Abu Bakr in the ghar. right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. 40 people, musallilina suyufahum, they're all waiting to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He walks right, they don't see the footsteps. He walks right by them. At least the smell. Rasulullah, we all know, was so fragrant that if he walked in a street, you would smell that street would smell, it would have the scent of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for days. Right? So what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can, that's the miracle here that we don't never think about. The miracle is that, I mean, like, imagine you're on a ship, everybody's there, and he's like, listen, you're going to drown the people. لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا. The people did not see. And how do we know that? Because he tells them, look, I operate in a different realm. You operate in a different realm. And that's why that wording is so important. مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ. You don't exist in that. Ihata basically means like you're not in that surrounding circle. My circle is different, your circle is different. I'm going to allow you to be in my circle. And I'll do things the way I want to do. Similarly, when Dajjal is going to come, he's going to test us with these things. This cup is annoying me because I keep playing and playing with it. I need this cup gone. Otherwise, I'll just keep on playing. I need something to... Oh, look at that. Sorry. Okay, malam tuhit. He's laughing. So this is what is happening. They are operating in a different realm. Okay, but then you may say, okay, that was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? Has it happened to others? Yes, it has happened to Sahaba. It has happened to Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in. It has happened to Sahaba, and it has happened to one of the persons who ran, one of the leaders of Quraysh, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet ﷺ, on the battle of Badr, he made the dua against him. Oh Allah, sallit alayhi kilaban min kilabik. Kalban min kilabik. Oh Allah, appoint on him a dog from your dogs. So this person, he heard this dua from Rasulullah ﷺ, he got so scared. He was with the Muslims. So what he would say whenever he would travel with the Muslims, he would say, listen, I will sleep right in the middle, not on the edges. So if any animal comes, by the time they get to me, I'm safe. Okay? There were wounded people in that battle, and he got all of those prisoners, and he sat right in he slept in the middle to make sure that if there is any lion or dog that's going to come and eat the wounded people and the blood is fresh, they're going to go after them first. Right? The lion comes, it was a leopard, an Arabian leopard, comes and grabs him right from the middle. And the Arabian leopard did not smell any other blood of any other Muslim. Ajib. So our history is filled with these stories that we have from the Sahaba and Tabi'in. I'm not even talking about, let's talk about in our day. We have so many stories in our day of similar things that have happened. Right? So they were in a different realm, and that's the only way this entire story makes sense. قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. He reminds him, listen, you're in a different realm. You don't understand the dynamics and the physics of how this world works. You don't understand. You can't apply that. So you will not understand. And I told you you're not going to be patient about this. قال لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت. Don't hold me accountable for this. Honestly, I forgot. ولا ترهقني, and don't be hard on me. I.e., don't be burdensome on me. Min amri usra. Don't make this difficult for me. I really want to be with you. فانطلقا. So they both traveled. حتى لقيا غلاما. Until they met a boy. Ghulam, a boy. I.e., a boy anywhere between the age of 9 to 12. No, sorry, 9 to 14. فقتله. He killed him. Okay? Imagine, you enter a city, you meet this boy, and you just kill him. And nobody around has any issues with it. How is that possible? You killed somebody. لَقِيَا غُلَامًا فَقَتَلَهُ قَالَ قَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً بِغَيْرِ نَفْسٍ. Musa alayhi salam says, Sharia. He says, in my Sharia, you can only kill if he has killed. You have killed somebody you have spilled blood for no other reason. بغير نفس, he has not done any harm. How could you do that? This is not qisas. لقد جئت شيئا نكرا. You have done a horrible thing. قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. Did I not tell you that you're not going to have patience with me? You will not be able to travel along with me patiently. قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها, if I ask you about anything after this moment, فلا تصاحبني. I give you permission, take me out of this realm. Leave me. Leave my company, don't accompany me. قد بلغت من لدني عذرا. This udhr has come to you, this excuse has come to you from me. So that's the final. So what happens? فانطلقا. They traveled. حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية. Notice the additional word over here. حتى, until أتيا, they arrived. They entered. أهل قرية, they met the people now. أهل قرية, what did they do? استطعما, they asked for food. Just like istasqa, you asked for water. استطعما, they asked for food. They both asked for food. أهلها, the people of this قرية. فأبوا أن يضيفوهما. So they said, nope, we're not going to be hospitable to you. They were very inhospitable people. فوجد فيها جدارا. This time around, it's a physical thing that is happening. He saw an actual wall. فوجد فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض. This is interesting. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, he sees a wall, and that wall had the desire to collapse. Yuridu, arada yuridu is a desire. Now we're seeing the wall from a different realm. Every inanimate object that we believe is inanimate has a reality. We know this because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hasa, he had pebbles in his hands. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu comes, he's like, what is this sound? He said, they're doing tasbih to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they are in the most blessed hand. They're thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ali radiallahu anhu was walking with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after Fath Makkah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sees that hajar. And he says, إِنَّ هَذَا الْحَجَرْ كَانَ يُسَلِّمُ عَلَيْهِ. This stone, it used to send salam to me when I was not a Nabi. Okay, so there is a realm and a reality of all of those things. We just, the scientific way of inanimate, that's not true. Right? That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ. Everything that came into existence just tasbih. يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُم. You don't understand their tasbih. That's the problem. So over here, a jidar, a wall can have irada, maybe not in our realm, right? But in their world, yes, it can have an irada. Okay. The second meaning is it's high level of imagery, that it's like as if the wall had an irada, it just wanted to fall. I.e., it was really close to falling. Okay. يريد أن ينقض فأقامه. So he comes and he fixes the wall. قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا. I mean, we needed food, we don't have money. You could have asked for labor charges. You fixed this. You should have told the guys who you fixed the wall for, give me the money. I'm going to fix the wall for you for free. No, we could have taken money. Okay. Ali radiallahu anhu, he used to say that موضعان يبكيان عند فراق المؤمن. Two places on this earth, they cry when a believer leaves. A place where he used to pray, موضع صلاته, a place where he used to pray, and the spot in the sky where his recitation in the salah would ascend in harmony with the angels. That spot where that recitation would ascend to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that spot also cries. That no longer from this spot any recitation of this individual is going to ascend. Right? So even the earth cries. The point is, the earth also cries. The spot in the sky cries. We just don't know this. Right? فَمَا بَكَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاء. The sky did not cry upon them. These are all things that we know in the Quran. And if we have that level of belief, then when Dajjal comes, inshallah, we should not have any. I mean, don't try to test your if it happens in our time. Don't try to test it. Look, we read Tafseer, in the hub. Let's go Dajjal. And then Musa alayhi salam is there, and Khadir alayhi salam, he says, قَالَ هَذَا فِرَاقُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِكَ. This is the departation point between you and me. سَأُنَبِّئُكَ تَأْوِيلِ. I will سَأُنَبِّئُكَ بِتَأْوِيلِ. I will tell you the original intended intention of my actions. The word ta'wil comes from awwal, first. Generally translated ta'wil, I will explain to you the purpose behind it. But when we say the word ta'wil, i.e. Quran ki ta'wil of the Quran, it is that what was the original intended meaning. That's what ta'wil is. Okay? سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا. I will tell you the ta'wil of all of that you were not capable of having patience about. And inshallah, we will also talk about the next part next week, inshallah.